Well, hello there again, kiddies! It is time once again for another episode of The Bible and an Atheist Point of View. I am your host, Shua, and what I am doing is basically reading the Bible, going all the way through this thing, from this cover to this cover, one chapter at a time, one chapter per video, because I think it's pretty damn funny myself. You don't think so? Try reading it sometime. Seriously. I mean, this thing is just filled with jokes. Not to mention, I like to read it because, I like to know what's in it myself. But other than that, I think it's absolutely fucking hysterical. But anyways, before I go on and start to read tonight's chapter. Okay. This makes it more interesting when we have a little music in the background. Where I left off is Deuteronomy, writes Aroni, Deuteronomy, Deuteronomy chapter 16. Verse 1. Observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover to the Lord your God in the month of Abib. Quickly, get Abib for the baby. Before he makes a mess. Abib, the Lord your God brought you out of Egypt by night. Verse 2. And you shall offer the Passover sacrifice to the Lord your God from flock or the herd, at the place that the Lord will choose to make his name dwell there. What's he gonna have it flying over or something like that? Biplanes with little flags. God rules. It's just fun. Verse 3. You shall eat no leavened bread with it. Leavened bread. Okay. How about unleavened bread? 7 days you shall eat it with unleavened bread. Oh, you can have unleavened bread. All right. How about premium leavened? The bread of affliction for you came out in the land of Egypt in haste. Haste not, what not? That all the days of your life you may remember the day when you came out of the land of Egypt. Verse 4. No leaven shall be seen with you in all your territory for 7 days, nor shall any of the flesh that your sacrifice on the evening of the first day remain all night until morning. God, that's gonna stink the next day. Nasty fucker, you sick, twisted fuck! Verse 6. But at the place that the Lord your God will choose to make his name dwell in it, there you shall offer the Passover sacrifice in the evening at sunset, at the time you came out of Egypt. Alrighty then, verse 7. And you shall cook it and eat it at the place that the Lord your God will choose, and in the morning you shall turn and go in your tents. Alright. God, this is boring so far. Verse 8. For 6 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day there shall be a solemn assembly to the Lord your God. You shall do no work on it. Define work. Just sex count. Verse 9. You shall count 7 weeks. Begin to count the 7 weeks from the time the sickle is first put in the standing grain. The sickle? The icicle? The pickle. It's a typo. They meant to say pickle. The first time you put a pickle in it. Must be a typo, right? What the fuck, Makes much more sense that way. Verse 10. Then you shall keep the feast of weeks to the Lord your God, with the tribute of a freewill offering from your hand, which you shall give as the Lord your God blesses you. Call that a blessing? Fuck. Verse 11. And you shall rejoice before the Lord your God, you and your son, and your daughter, and your male servant, and your female servant, and the Levite who is with you within the towns, the sojourner, the fatherless, and the widow are among you, as well as the dog and the goldfish, at the place that the Lord your God will choose to make his name dwell there. They're going to carve it in the mountain. Verse 12, you shall remember that you were a slave in Egypt, and you shall be careful to observe these statutes. Be careful. Because you might get hurt, right? Observing them the wrong way. Be careful. Verse 13, you shall keep the Feast of Booths 7 days. The Feast of Booths. What the fuck? Whatever. When you have gathered in the produce from your threshing floor and your winepress. Verse 14, you shall rejoice in your feast, you and your son and your daughter and your male servant and your female servant again? Come on. The Levite, the sojourner, the fatherless, and the widow who are within your towns. And a partridge in a pear tree. Fuck. Verse 15, for 7 days you shall keep the feast to the Lord your God at the place that the Lord will choose. Hold on, kitty. Because the Lord your God, oh hey kitty, will bless you in all your produce, and in all the work of your hands, so that you will be altogether joyful. These times a year, all the males shall appear before the Lord your God at the place that he will choose at the feast of unleavened bread. It's a big deal. It's all in caps. Unleavened bread. The third. At the Feast of Weeks. And at the Feast of Booths. All in caps. It's a big deal. Never hear about this shit anywhere else. A Feast of Booths. What kind of booths? Phone booths? We're all going to feast in the phone booths. Alright, well, there's this guy over there in the Cape who's like, occupying it at the moment. Where did I leave off? Oh yeah. They shall not appear before the Lord and him. Verse 17. Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of the Lord your God, that he has given you. Whatever. Verse 18. You shall appoint judges and officers in all your towns, that the Lord your God is giving you according to your tribes. And they shall judge the people with righteous judgment. Sure they will. Based on whose rules, huh? Verse 19. You shall not pervert justice. You shall not particularly. Such a big word in the Bible. And you shall not accept a bribe, for 1,000 blinds the eyes of the wise and subverts the cause of the righteous. Those would make some awesome metal lyrics, I think. Don't? Yeah, I think so too. For blind lies the rights of the wise and the suburbs of the cause of the righteous. Maybe not. Verse 20. Justice and only justice you shall follow, that you may live and inherit the land that the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not plant any trees as an Asherah beside the altar of the Lord your God that you shall make. Verse 22 in the final verse in this book, chapter, whatever. And you shall not set up a pillar which the Lord your God hates. Isn't it so nice? I can end that chapter on God hates. Well, kids, once again, this is Shua, and this has been the Bible and an Atheist Point of View.